apedza zvake comrade bombshell.
ndaranga asatiteerere
But
macho.
impeachment yakutaura ane vanhu muparliament here comrade Geza haiziye ma 1/3 2/3 what eh?
Nkoma Titus.
Yes.
Nkoma Titus. Ndinoti gaga ndobva ndanorara zvangu because this is Asante Sana. But anyway, to get to the issues, I think I'm really concerned and satisfied. Well, I'm satisfied with the fact that Mdarada had a plan. And I'm also concerned ne mental health yake Mdara uyu. And I will tell you why. One would have hoped kuti if they thought this through, they would have considered impeachment route first. And if the impeachment fails, then you have the threat of demonstrations. But now you start with what has been said to be failed demonstrations. Now you are saying we are going to impeachment when that avenue has always been open. But at the same time, I'm also very alive to the fact that the threat of impeachment in of itself was also used to some degree to leverage forcing Mugabe into resigning. But I think you should also then maybe put things into context and realize that it was not impeachment alone. It was backed up with the with the with the coup, which was not a coup, and also with the people on the streets. Then to come to the point that you're making, Titus, about numbers, I think impeachment is a numbers game. And in circumstances where you're saying Kuti, the guys in his corner have used money to buy people to be on their side, then I'm wondering what are you doing to mitigate against that reality? Because all someone needs to do is to pay. But most interestingly, Geza is not a member of parliament. We were wondering all this time who's behind him, who is he working with? And I think it will just be interesting to see who will even table the motion for impeachment, because I think that will then maybe put things into context in terms of who he is working with. Then in closing, I was also disappointed when he started name dropping, particularly religious leaders, because I think he's then opening himself up or exposing his credibility to take hit there. Like what we have seen last time, we had Meso Chamisa coming and say, and this is Zire. So I think him dropping people's names is exposing himself um, for an attack there. But in a nutshell, Asante Sana, I don't see this thing going anyway. This might as well be a polite way of saying we have failed citizens. And my heart cries out to the people who acted upon the strength of his word, and those people are in prison. And he's now thinking of impeachment, which was always available before he risked the people's lives. But again, I could be wrong. Thank you, Uncle
Right.
James.
Thank you very much. Right. So, yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, what Geza is saying, right there, is that they are going the impeachment route, as you have said, AJ, and this is on the basis that Emerson Mnangagwa is now losing his faculties. He has got vascular dementia, and they've got evidence that speaks to that. He pointed out, correct me if I'm wrong, Titus, pointed out that they've got evidence from his doctors or something like that, that is his status at the present moment, and he has also used some events and occurrences that took place that points to Emerson Mnangagwa being vascular demented. Yeah, he spoke about Emerson Mnangagwa failing to recognize July Moyo. He has also gone on to speak about Mnangagwa not knowing that Zimbabwe does not have a FIFA approved football stadium to host home nation, home matches. This is why I mean, as you know, we are playing our football, our home matches away from home, and then he said that because of his status, those who are around him, they are now taking advantage of him, and they are making decisions. And some of those decisions that they are making, he gave examples of the POSB issue, that it was the Attorney General who took advantage, or that a letter or something like that, to front the takeover of POSB. He spoke about the influence that what's his name, Kudakwaseta Gray, is also having. He's speaking about some of the schemes that are currently underway, the presidential schemes, and he's saying that Emerson Mnangagwa has got no control over those schemes, but there are people surrounding him who are spearheading those presidential schemes. He mentioned them by name, the solar, the borehole, the whatever. And he has also spoken about uh, um, the influence that these Ziganangas are having around Emerson Mnangagwa. He brought in Nels, what's his name, Wikino Chuvayo, into the mix. And so basically what he's saying is, because Emerson Mnangagwa has got this disease of the brain, which is a vascular dementia, he is no longer fit to be the president of Zimbabwe. So what they've done is they are now going they are going to parliament. How that is going to play out, we are waiting to find out how that is going to be played out. But that is the issue that is now taking center stage, the impeachment of Emerson Mnangagwa. So, right, in a nutshell, and according to my recollection, as a person who's not demented, I think I've managed to squeeze that.
I, th- I
I
think
think
he
you
could
are.
have added. He could also have added the train thing about him confirming if we have a passenger
Yeah,
train
even
in the
with a
country.
passenger train that goes to
Yeah,
Bulawayo.
so I think for
Yes,
evidence, whatever evidence that they were saying they have, I think those are some of the examples. And also, I think you summed it up well, Uncle. And then when we come to the initiating the impeachment, we believe that is to be done by any senator or any member of the National Assembly. So
yes,
the biggest question then comes to say, if that's the route that they want to do, have they thought that through? Do they have the people? Because as we were saying even before that speech, kuti money is powerful in Zimbabwe. Vanhu vanotengwa. So if it's a game of that, have they got the people behind in the parliament? That would be the first
absolutely.
question.
I remember, somebody was saying, I don't know, who said this, that what the amount of money that was used during the Mugabe era. I can't remember, the figure from the top of my head now. I've had dementia with a kicking, but there was, I think, a mention of millions, to get Mugabe, to go. And now we are looking at these individuals with the amount of wealth and resources that they have at the present moment in time. What is it going to take to initiate something of that sort? How much money are we talking about? Because these guys, if it is going to parliament, they can, if they want to buy people, if they want to buy these MPs, they've got a lot of money at their disposal to make sure that does not see the light of the day. And also, if you're looking at the composition of that parliament, if you're looking at the fact that ZANU PF is controlling both houses, how feasible is it that, and who is prepared in to move that motion to impeach Emerson Mnangagwa, given the current status of our parliament, the current status of our Senate? Because this is going to take, the combined, parliament and Senate to move, this thing. Like what, we started to see before Mugabe's resignation letter was read by Mudenda on that Tuesday. I don't know. I'm not. I don't know. I'm not seeing this, happening. I don't know. Maybe they've got a plan, that I might not be, familiar, with. But this right here is a very, very, very long shot.
You did mention that we are not stopping the other, but for now we are focusing on impeachment. So I think all the energy is going towards impeachment. So then it beggars the question to say if these guys really thought this through. But anyway, we can hear what others think, Uncle.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Wopo, do you want to come in and give a response before we bring in, other people to, weigh in on this issue now?
Yeah, thank you. I listened to what Blessed Bombshell Geza said. I think for now it's fair to say they've reached the end of the road. For now, unless if they've got maybe it's a decoy plan. I don't know. We just have to look at what's in Parliament, or perhaps to say what do you need to impeach a president. So to impeach a president, you need one half of the National Assembly to support a motion, and then you need two-thirds of both the National Assembly and Senate to vote in favor of of that impeachment. So the National Assembly has got 280 MPs, 210 are directly elected, and 70 are proportional and special seats. And the Senate has got 80. Uh, so if we look at what ZANU PF has, it has 136 directly elected members of parliament, and women's quota is 33, and youth quota it's 7. What it means is that they must have the the opposition, part of the opposition on side, but they must have a lot of MPs from ZANU PF to come with them. And the only thing that can sway people to vote for impeachment is money. Um, and so what they're essentially saying is they've got enough money to give MPs more than Tagore and Mnangagwa, which is not plausible to me. I think they've reached the end of the road for now. As someone said earlier, impeachment should have been the original idea, the initial idea rather, uh, and then back it up with a nuclear option, like what they did with Mugabe. There was a nuclear option on the streets, and there was impeachment. And what they did for Mugabe to sign the impeachment letter, the resignation letter, to stop the impeachment was to say, uh, if you don't resign, we will let the masses come to your house to blow roof. Impeachment is not a one-day thing. It takes long. It can drag on. It can go to courts. And this guy owns the courts. He has paid those judges, all those houses he was buying. It was for a day like this, you know, because emotion, to have a motion of impeachment, it takes a few days or even a week. And then you have an investigation by a joint committee, which takes weeks to months. You know, the committee investigates the allegations of misconduct, failure to uphold the Constitution, or if you are incapacitated, which is what they're saying. It can take months, and Parliament has to vote based on the findings. So the realistic time frame for impeachment could take a month or more. So as far as I'm concerned, Uncle Jed, we are back to default.
Reset. Back to factory settings. Bagayepa. Right, Mercy.
Uncle,
Okay, yeah, okay. What?
Uncles, they
Right, okay. Okay, Marcy, okay, you can come in, and then Lennon, since you're remaining MTMO, you can walk us through this. But Marcy, please come through.
can I use words from Geza?
Like which ones?
Bullshit. I've never seen anybody who comes in like a raging ball of fire de-escalate in the manner that this guy has. Yeah, it's not right. It's taking the piss, and it proves things that we have been saying. Strategy, hapana. Backup, hapana. He was thinking as he goes along. But we were a community that was just on the tipping edge. And he went with it. This guy had no plan. How does he pass the process to hands that he has no control? That is betraying that there is no plan. You can't take something from where you said you had full control of and now leave it to the mercy. Even analyzing this is a waste of time. I don't want history to record me discussing a stupid thing. This is crazy. And this should teach our media practitioners that your influence on people is so important. Flip-flopping now and pretending that the analysis that you had in the beginning when this plan was put on is the same as what you had after Monday is ridiculous. Luckily, the revolution these days is televised, and fake revolutions get televised more. And we have the evidence of what people were saying that are part and parcel of the hype mastering that happened here. There's no plan here, but we will sit through the spin doctoring of this. He is more likely to suffer from the same illness that he's accusing the president of, because this does not make sense. If I was the practitioner looking at this person through his actions and risk taking, this is a crime. But that's what I would say. Playing around with people, and to mention them so trivially, the people who went to demonstrations, and mention that the ones who stayed away, the stay away was the success. So what does he call the ones who went away, who went out? Since what now is the successful stuff is the staying away. Yet he's the same man who stood and called people out. It will teach us a lesson as Zimbabweans. Stay in your lane. ZANU PF is ZANU. People it produces in its party do this. They play with our lives. They would never do this strategy using their own ZANU PF people, the 2 million people, and ask them to make a decision between the general and ED and let them fight it out to Congress. Pay each other, lobby each other, and whip each other. They wouldn't do that. This is crazy. But I leave it here. I'm just interested in how people spin this nonsense.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Lennon, do you want to weigh in on this one? Is
Um, I'm a bit saddened, Uncle. Yeah, it's really disappointing to say the least. I expected better. Listening to Geza speak on Monday and saying, "I'll give you a way forward on Wednesday, I thought maybe there's something more tangible. He knows very well. This is a man who was in the intelligence. He is a man who has also been a member of parliament. So I'm sure you would know that an impeachment process would be a long shot. We are aware that a few weeks or months ago, opposition MPs, including Chabangu, were in Kwekwe, the president's farm, endorsing or seemingly endorsing him. So the numbers that are needed in order to succeed with an impeachment quite onerous for our parliament it is constituted at the moment. Is quite a difficulty to really do that, and is, to be practical, not feasible. You never know. Maybe he has something that he can pull, but the chances of whatever that he has said today to succeed are quite remote. I may then say this could be a decoy, but with the kind of men and women that he's dealing with, I'm sure they would know that maybe this is a ruse meant to divert their attention to maybe from the real issues to something else. I feel bad for the ordinary men and women who went out on Monday, and maybe like what Marcy has said, it's unfortunate that this is where we are. On Monday, no, no, on Tuesday, there were young men and women on Garuku Rotten Row who have been placed on remand until the 15th of April, who acted on his word. So maybe our people were right not to participate actively in their numbers on Monday, given what we are now seeing. So it then becomes a difficulty to say, given the fluid dynamics of our politics, the people are still confused and there is need for a leader. I do not want to bring that person in the conversation, but to really close by saying maybe it's time we really have a serious conversation about a visible leader with visible structures and communication channels that can reach the people. Otherwise, with this faceless revolution that has been televised on virtual spaces, I think it's difficult for us to really see whether change can come. I think it's time that Zimbabwe really considers the kind of politics we want, that is a visible leader who can give a clear signal, where there are structures that can really bring the tangible change that we are all looking at.
Mm, right. Oppo, back in 2017, if you look at that impeachment process that was initiated before the resignation letter, was read, it's something that actually was a resolution of ZANU PF Central Committee meeting that said to say that they are recalling Robert Mugabe from his position as president, and this was something that was tasked to the chief whip to push that motion to get the proceedings started. Unfortunately, we did not get to see the actual proceeding taking place in its entirety, because it's something that was stopped in its tracks as a result of Robert Mugabe resigning. And here we are. We have got Geza and his movement. At the present moment, we do not really know who is really backing him, who's really behind him, and the prospects of this being initiated in the first place. Surely they look, grim. I don't see anything, right there.
Well, as I explained, you remember that 4 or 5 days ago I was bashed when I when I said it's the end of the road for the vice president and that he had been outmaneuvered politically. And this is exactly what we meant. This is what I meant in the analytical piece, if you can go and read it again. Um, that politically, the vice president was outmaneuvered the day Emerson Mnangagwa convinced him to remove the running mate clause. That was the only protection clause that he had. When that was removed, that was the end of the road for him, as far as I was concerned. And when you look at what Blessed Geza has said today, unless if it's a decoy, as someone has said, uh, impeachment is a difficult process because remember, they have said that the Speaker of Parliament is a Chigananda. Is they're fighting him, right?
Hmm.
And that's the same guy who's supposed to facilitate the impeachment. How will that work? Um, ED has got the Chabango opposition right in his pocket and many others in the opposition who we don't know yet. We know that our opposition guys are in it for money. So they will be paid. Uh, Without wanting to dampen people's spirits, this is the end of the road as far as what they've been saying is concerned. As I've said for months, the only options left for the general now is the military, but his right hand man was removed. And the other option that was available was an uprising, but that won't happen again. As I explained 5 days ago, that you need security guarantees for the people to go into the streets. So an uprising is not going to happen. Um, so I think this is the end of the road. And if there's no element of surprise from the other camp, that's also the end of the road for the general because red lines were drawn in the past 2 weeks between him and his boss. They always knew that they disagreed. They always knew that they were fighting each other, but it was more of shadow boxing. But now it became real with people like Mshangwa saying what they were saying. So, as I said again 5 days ago, the next thing that we are going to see is the beginning of a process to remove Chiwenga as vice president. That's what
Mm.
we're going to see. And I know that I sounded like a madman when I said it 5 days ago, but that's the reality. You see, what we need to learn, Uncle Jed, is not to analyze things to on the basis of what we want to happen, but on the plausibility, looking at the reality on the ground. And the reality on the ground was quite clear that short of a coup and short of an uprising, nothing else is going to happen. And to try and impeach someone who's backed by himself with billions that he has looted, someone backed by Tagre with billions that he has looted, and many other business people right behind him. You know, I'm telling you right now, they're opening champagne. The
They are
Lacoste
toasting.
team, they're toasting because they know that impeachment will not work. It has to be something else that will work.
Right.
Impeachment, they don't have. You see, the difference between President Mnangagwa and Vice President Chiwenga is that President Mnangagwa is prepared to spend money. Tagore is prepared to spend money, but the other side has not spent money visibly. They could have been doing it quietly, but not visibly. And so impeachment didn't work with Mugabe because Mugabe was actually prepared to fight impeachment. When they realized that impeachment would not work because Mugabe would fight it, as I explained earlier, impeachment would take months, at least a month or more. So you're telling me that you're going to impeach Emerson whilst he's sitting in Harare as president for a month? It won't work.
Yeah, sure, it won't work.
Let me just
Wrong.
read this one,
Uh,
Uncle.
Uncle.
This one, this guy can. What if they have another plan, but they are simply ticking boxes of the constitutional options to justify the ultimate plan? Is that
Yeah,
a,
you're right. You're right. If they have if they
Yeah, I
have
think
another
this is
plan,
where now the decoy point is coming in. That
if they
maybe
have
it is a
another
decoy.
plan,
Eh.
if they have another plan, yes, that's fine. But the problem with impeachment, the other problem with impeachment is that if they try it and it fails, That's the end of the road. They cannot carry a coup after failing impeachment because the regional leaders will now not accept it. They will say, look, you tried to impeach this man, you failed, you lost. Now you are trying to use guns. So impeachment can happen when you have carried out a coup like what they did with Mugabe. They went into the streets first. They then brought the people into the streets for visuals. They went to parliament. And then when they realized that Mugabe was prepared to fight it out, they said, we are now going to release the people to come to Blue Roof. Whatever happens, it's not our problem. So what made Mugabe leave was the threat of the people being let loose to come to Blue Roof. It was not impeachment. Impeachment was a tool which they realized was not going to work. So
Right.
look, it was good entertainment while it lasted.
Right. 10. You
Uncle.
want to come
Yeah.
in?
Yeah, thank you so much because ndaupinda underground. Ndaida ngoti mungoudza Owen Chari naMwendas kuti pane mumwe murume akaposta giraffe panapa. Thank you.
10 watanga. Unongouya ungotaura tuma one
A-
line
Anga
wangobva wabaya.
ayo but ndozvavaida kuti chamisayo zodhifenda izvozvizvi. Ndozvavaida kuti chamisayo zoprotecta kuzoti part of handiti. Chamisa akaposta giraffe angatozviona kudhara izvi. Many thanks uncle. Maita basi.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Ango,
Yes.
30 seconds.
Right.
A suggestion. And
What
this
are
is
you, what do you want to suggest?
okay. And again, this is in the spirit of accountability and making sure that no one come across as if they are mad or irrational. So I went back to your spaces angle, especially the one that you held on Monday
Uh-huh.
before the I think before the update from Geza,
Yes.
and I compiled some of the submissions that were made in those spaces by prominent people, giving their expert analysis of what was going to happen. So I was thinking maybe we could play a game at some point. I know we've got a lot of people who want to come and make submissions, but we could play a game of what was said before, expert opinions that were given before as they was, as they were waiting for Geza versus what they are saying now.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I think then people will be able to draw some inferences, whether to take some people seriously next time when they try to mislead us. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you
I,
very much.
I do have
100,
material
sorry,
ready.
Mkoma
Thank you.
Gerard, 100%. We
Ah,
need that game so we can learn from history. Because
right.
panapa togara chinzi don't go back to history. Tinoda kuzadzei vanhu vanozoti ke ngatidzokere takambokuudzai abeg people. Yet learning from history is crucial for us to improve. So I think we
Absolutely.
need to play that game. We definitely need to play that game.
All right, we'll play it. Don't worry, we'll play it. Right, but yeah, right. Before I bring in Dr. Moses into the conversation, I've received another message here. I just want to read this. And so the hard truth is this: Zimbabwe's opposition cannot outgovern ZANU PF until it outthinks ZANU PF. Real resistance requires more than trending hashtags and impeachment theatrics. It demands cold-eyed analysis of power structures, patient coalition building across civil society, and the disaffected ZANU factions. And most critically, a credible alternative vision that speaks to the material needs of citizens rather than the emotional catharsis of activists. Until then, these cycles of hype and retreat will only deepen the regime's confidence and the people's despair. The revolution will not be live streamed, nor will it be legislated through doomed impeachment fantasies in a parliament that ZANU PF is popularly represented. Power concedes nothing without demand, but not all demands are created equal. Some are strategy, others are suicide by self delusion. So it's a message, that I've received. So I just thought that, I should,
Wow.
I should, read that out.
A quick question. A quick question. Does the impeachment here dismantle capacity, does it differ from the other? And it when they misconduct, when they failing to uphold constitution, but vari kutaura nyaya yekuti zvo inability to perform functions due to mental, does this one differ then from the other two? Because kana asina munhu asingagone kuzvifungira pachezvake, does it differ kune vanogona mutemo?
Uncle Jet, yeah, thank you. So, I think I'm disappointed like any other person. Let me maybe give an example of Kenya. We saw the impeachment of the deputy president Rigathi Gachagua in Kenya. And if you look at that process, you can see that it was a very complicated process, despite that President Ruto was in charge and in control, and even with the support of Raila Odinga. Of course, Kenya uses the running mate clause, which makes it more complicated. But impeachment is not something that you can just do overnight. You need to have the control of the key institutions. Even Gachagua get to the point of challenging the process in the courts. So if you look at the process, as Daddy Hope has said, number one, you need at least 50% of the combined members of National Assembly and the Senate to pass the resolution in support of removing Mnangagwa on the grounds that they have mentioned. And they mentioned the ground that he is unable to perform the functions of his office because of the dementia they mentioned. So getting that 50% is not an easy, it's an easy thing if you have the control of the institutions. Then after that, the second step would have to now have a committee on standing rules and orders, which must compose of people from countries that, parties that are represented, including the opposition, which means that you need to have people from the Citizen Coalition for Change and from ZANU-PF to investigate the charges, to say what are the merits, and then they can recommend, and then you now need a joint vote between these two houses, and which you need a two-thirds majority to be able to pass that. And even after, even if you pass that, Mnangagwa can go to the courts and challenge the process to say, and this issue even of physical or of mental incapacity, you need medical reports. They will be needing, you can't say we have got the reports. After the process, there is a need for independent medical practitioners to assess Mnangagwa and say, yes, it's true that he has this condition. So to be honest, I mean, I agree with previous speakers that this is not something that we can expect to happen unless if they are using it as a decoy, as other previous speakers have said. So I mean, it's it's a deflation of the issue. I mean, so yeah, thank you, Ango. That's my
Right, right.
remarks.
Yeah, and also, if we are looking at this point of, this issue of impeachment, let's take, this hypothetical, I'm just saying it for the sake of saying it, hypothetical situation that, it goes through. It means that, the ball is going to go back into ZANU-PF's court, and ZANU-PF would then second the next person who will become the president to serve the remaining or the remainder of Emerson Mnangagwa's tenure, or to say he will serve in 30 days for 90 days, then prepares the country, for another election. So I mean, are they doing this as a way of getting Chiwenga to assume the presidency of the country? Let's say, that is something, that can happen. Is this now the only viable option that Chiwenga has for him to become the president of the country? I want to pose that question. Ruibo.
Yeah, the challenge that I see is the way that Geza came into the space, momentum ya Ghana, with the majority and the people. I just feel, people. That's why people feel deflated. There was so much momentum in terms of galvanizing people, in terms of this is what we can do. We'll do this. We'll do this. So for him then to take a step back and say impeachment, it kind of you can kind of relate to why people would feel Kutaiwa maybe has run his race. So it is definitely the momentum is died down big time. Anyway, somebody who was coming next,
That
you can come.
momentum is dying down. Right, Ruimbo, do you want to come in?
Yes, I do. Let me just get my headphones off.
Yeah,
Is it
it's
is this over now, Ruimbo? Say go on going.
zvageza isusu takumboita commercial break now vasekuru vedu ava because like I said before, I don't really trust Gez, and I think after M31 my position has definitely changed. I think I was under the position let's wait and see, but we waited, we saw, and we still left with nothing. And in his last statement that he made after that, he did make this statement where he was saying, Kuti, by the end of the week, it will be gone. Now, if we're talking about impeachment, we're talking about this, it's going to go for a really long time. But I do believe him, though, when he says, Kuti Droni, Ed has got dementia. This is something that I've been talking about, and I felt like nobody was trying to listen to what I was saying. I definitely believe that he's got dementia, and because he's got dementia, I do think that it gives us, the people, leverage to investigate further. I think the best way we can now utilize Geza and the information he's giving, firstly, we just need to verify is what he's telling us true or not, but we're not part of his fight. I definitely can speak on behalf of the young people. I've been spending a lot of time with them on TikTok, and they're not interested in what Geza has to offer. I think now the young people are under the position that, thank you so much, Sekuru Magaita Basa, Magati Tangira, Magati Batrandima, but let's isusu tista kubata gejo manje. We're going to be the ones to do what is needed to push this forward until the end. I think that Geza did a really good job to start this and revive the spirits of people to know that actually we can raise up and fight. But now I think we need to firstly prioritize Blessed Mklanga. He now needs to be out of jail, and amongst those people that were arrested and many other people who have been arrested, unlawfully. And in the process, they can do impeachment, Zavo, but in terms of them getting our vote of confidence, that's absolutely over. And that I'll end there for now.
Right. Okay. Because there's some people that are saying that, look, guys, trust this process. This move right here is meant to sort of make this thing uh, fall into this democratic space, to say, Guti, what, the president was removed as a result of his inability to perform his function, and stuff like that. But I need more on that. I need people to expand more on that, to help me understand where you're coming from with this narrative that you're saying it's not over yet. It's just another process that has been initiated to sort of try and bring sanity, to this whole thing, and put it within the democratic, realm of doing, things, such that when things do happen, later on, it will not be seen as something that has been done as a coup or something, like that. But I need more.
Uncle
I
Gerard,
need
can I
more on
just
this.
quickly point out actually that earlier when we were refreshing, I don't know how I ended up on shorts, but I saw that Geza had posted a very random video. Now you would imagine that no other video would be posted on Geza's account, but this one was, and unfortunately it had a logo. Then when I went on the website and went on who is running this organization, I wondered, is Geza actually working with Chiwenga, or is Geza under the protection of human rights activists? And if he is, then this has all been a big scam.
Right. Anyway, let's see, how this thing. Let's see how this thing, play out. We might be hasty in our, conclusion, now, but maybe, there's some method, to this madness here.
Uncle, a quick one, guys. We've got over 60 requests to speak, so we just want to try and accommodate as many as we can. Tingons were different points, so if you feel you spoken and you can make space, please do. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's move
absolutely.
on.
Or what we can do, Titus. Some of the folks, that have spoken, we can bring them down.
Mhm.
Yeah, some of the folks, that have spoken, we can bring them down, and then we'll bring in, more people. And if there's anyone that want to engage, Oppo, I'm going to leave him there. If there's anyone that want to engage, him, you can, engage, with him for as long as he's still available here. But folks, that have spoken, given, their, what
Yeah.
you call it, their input, you can, make way, and then we create space for more people to come through. And also, those who are coming in, please, can you just take 3 minutes, submissions, 3 minutes. We are timing 3 minutes. And if your 3 minutes are up, we'll ask you, to conclude in 30 seconds before we ask you to step down. So just come here with your thoughts well packaged, and be prepared to utilize the 3 minutes that you have. The 30 seconds is just an exception that we may be prepared, to give. But we are looking at people coming in and speak in 3 minutes so that we can accommodate as many people as possible. Right. So can I bring in Simbarashe? Simbarashe Munenda, please take the mic. Your 3 minutes starts from now. We let's start, timing more so that people don't go overboard.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Gerard, Titus, speakers, and fellow listeners. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Please go ahead.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, it's I think it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. When all this stuff was being talked about, the there were mentions of dementia around the president, around Mnangagwa, quite a while back. Um, I think the reason why Geza is doing this is because they may be, and I'm being speculative about this, that there may be consensus amongst maybe a sufficient representation of ZANU-PF within parliament, because that is where the game has been directed at. Ideally, I think that is where they've always been thinking, hoping to get to, because they want to try and avoid a coup that is either heavier or similar to the one that took place in 2017. Um, so they are guided by Section 97 of the Constitution, which then obviously covers the medical incapacity of a president being medically unfit to continue with office, which then can be invoked through parliament. But then additionally, suppose they're actually putting pressure on Mnangagwa, which I suspect has been the case because his behavior and conduct over the past couple of months, since maybe around the time he went to Ethiopia, there have been changes in how he moves about. Case in point being, if you notice, when he traveled to Ethiopia, he was actually accompanied by Sanyatwe. And Sanyatwe at that time, he was not wearing his uniform. He was actually wearing civilian clothing. Uh, and nobody even mentioned that whether he was accompanying him as a bodyguard or as someone in another capacity is something that is maybe we can always analyze further. But then additionally, there's also, why am I talking about pressure on him? It can lead to Section 100 of the Constitution. Section 100 covers voluntary submission by the president itself to say, I am not in a position, which then will help expedite the process, assuming then Section 97 has been invoked correctly. But ideally, these guys are trying to use the Constitution, meaning to say they may have sufficient support for what they are about to do, because we can pick nuggets from what Geza has been doing. Geza is actually name dropped, and of the names that he has dropped, how many have come out? We know ZANU-PF people would literally come out and swear their allegiance. There are a few names that have been mentioned that have not come out and said, "Hey, we are dissociating ourselves now from what Geza is saying." So I guess just for us people on the sidelines, personally, I'm one of those people watching from the sidelines. I'm hoping they succeed in whatever they are doing. The reason being that whenever they do also succeed, it also shows that they are probably getting closer to their weakest, because they are running out of these elderly people that they still say wartime credentials and everything else, which kind
Right.
of opens up to everything else. So thank you. I will let you.
Right. Thank you very much. I do appreciate. Right. Right. Can I have Dr. Ian, to come through? Your 3 minutes starts from now.
Thank you so much, Gerard. I think Mine was more a question directed to Hopewell, and based on the scenario that we presume that, of course, that the VP is behind all of these shenanigans. So the question is more two-part. The first part is there then any significance, given that we've seen recent moves to have Taguire part of the ZANU-PF Central Committee 1, and given that, would that have been, or could it be construed as a preemptive move to control the organs of the party? Of course, being someone who's a billionaire, you'll now be in a position to influence certain things there. And then secondly, knowing that Chiwenga, being a military strategist, well, experienced at least in the art of war, would you think that what he has done then with Geza would be the best show of his hand in this matter? Thank you.
Right. Right. Thank you very much. Hopo, do you want to come in there and respond to that?
Thank you very much. You know, we are now in speculation country now. Um, I think the people that actually know what's happening are the key players uh, on both sides. My view, as I've always said, and I know I've been bashed for this, is that politically, the vice president was outmaneuvered. Uh, the averages that were left to him, they are shrinking as well. The coup, the uprising, and the president waking up dead. Each day that comes and goes, we age towards 2026. And what I'm hearing is that the Lacoste faction wants to have Congress in 2026 to deal with all this. But some of them are who are daring, they're actually pushing for Chwenga to be kicked out. So we might see a process of him being kicked out. Politically, he's not strong at all. If we look at the political arms and the state arms that matter in this game now, is the judiciary, is parliament, is the executive. The executive is controlled by Emerson Mnangagwa. The judiciary is controlled by Luke Malaba, who's Emerson Mnangagwa. And parliament is controlled by the speaker, who these guys have called the Shigananda. So what matters now, it's now a money game. It's a game of money. And in terms of money, the people that have the real money are the people that are around, not around, but Emerson Mnangagwa himself has got money. Then the Taguires and so forth, they've got money. So, honestly, I'm not happy to say I got it right, but it is what it is in terms of the reality of what's happening now. A lot of business people were asking me, "What do you think?" And I was saying, "Oh no, I don't see anything happening." Um, but what these guys, we have to give them that credit. What Geza and his team have managed to do is to remove the 2030 issue from the table for now. I don't think we'll be hearing 2030 for some time. Uh, that we have to give credit to them. But that is not what they really want. What they really want is to remove the guy. Uh, so I think the long and short of it, in order to allow others to give their 2 cents, is that the general is on the back foot. He needs to figure out now what to do. And knowing Emerson Mnangagwa, he might be fired. and it might not be long before he's removed. I think each day that goes, um, it becomes worrisome for his camp. And as I said earlier, before Geza came to speak, some of the guys that I spoke to that are in the military were very despondent. It's like they knew this was this was what was going to be said today. They were very despondent. One of them said to me, I'm so mentally drained. Um, and I was waiting to listen to this guy, and I think unless if it's a decoy, it was a damn squib. It's not what people. You see, when you hype people, Angoje,
Mm.
when you hype people to a point where they believe it can happen now, and I know people like me were looking like we're crazy. We kept saying, people can go to the streets and they should go to the streets. Let people do what they want. But we looked like crazy because we kept saying, yes, uh, in terms of theoretically, would want this to happen. But the prospects of it happening, they look very slim because of the reality, especially after Sanyatko was fired. And some even said, no, you're wrong. He was not fired. He was just moved to another department. And then Mchango came out yesterday and said he was fired. So I think it's there was a sister who was speaking who was very despondent, bordering on anger. We have been through a lot. Don't be angry, don't be despondent. Just let's wait and watch and see what they're going to do. uh, the tragedy for me is that when all this is happening, there's no alternative. And I think somebody mentioned the fact that we need to start building on an alternative. It's important to have an alternative because these people are able to fight
Mm.
like this because there's no alternative. If Morgan Shangrai's MDC was alive today, these guys would not be able to be doing all the stuff that they're doing. They will be facing a real force that will be pushing them, putting pressure on them, making them to account. But right now, we don't even have a main opposition leader. Noso Chamisa is resigned. Welshman Ngube, no one elected him. Chabangu is a crooked charlatan. So the MPs are everywhere. You don't even know who's where, what are they talking about. And those guys, I can tell you that, they can be bought. But my view is that Tagore will be the first one to offer them a bigger chunk of money than the other side.
Right.
Um, and as I learned, I want to say to remind people that impeachment is a tool that was tried with Mugabe and it didn't work. And so they had to threaten to send people to his house. But in this instance, how do you threaten Emerson with people going to his house when you couldn't even put people in the cities,
Mm.
the streets?
Right. No, I hear you. I hear you. Thank you very much, for that. Right. Can I bring in Dr. Tadini, please? Your 3 minutes starts from now.
3 minutes kuti abvisa mukoma Gerard, but ndozviripo. The first thing that I will say is kuti ma 360 atiri kunzwa panapa, they are amazing. 360s that are happening within the same space. Later on we talk about 380s, 180s, sorry, turnarounds that are happening within the same space. Later on tozotaura that happened. We have to see what happened in the past week. Pachekutanga ndechekuti they are now victims. They are victims of Geza, the 95 that have just been mentioned, in a very brisk way by Geza himself. We will give lawyers, someone will visit you, very obscure. And those people are going to suffer. There's already a victim who has been suffering already, Mhlanga. That person is going to suffer. But all of them fell because of an illusion that Geza has some serious power and that power can protect him. And we fell into that trap and supported that position. A lot here supported that position, although now I would change it. I can say I didn't, and I've been clear about that. And these are some of the things we're mentioning. How are you going to protect the people if they go out there? We cannot have people going out there which will teach us humor that there will be protection. Now we're finding out that there isn't. So those are victims of Geza and misrepresentation. And they're victims of influencers here, people that you also asked to just to go, and we're trying to block alternative voices that were asking the crucial questions. So we also have to take account of that, influencers that assisted in something that clearly was not for the people, or at least it was not well thought out, so that people would be protected. Um, the other thing is supporting from the sideline. I think we always spoke about this, that you should support from the sideline. Just watch the fight. Don't get into the ring. And the reason why you should do that is because it's not clear, and it is an OPF thing at the end of the day. I think people here can now take the merit of why we say that, and we should have stuck to our own projects. In the moment that they were doing that, we should have been building our alternatives. We should have been strengthening our alternatives. I'm glad to say that some of us stayed at that work, and it will pay off in the long run. The other thing I want to stress here is our greatest enemies are the people that were telling us not to think. I think you remember everyone who constantly says, "Musafunde stereke problem in Zimbabwe kuti makadzidza." We wouldn't have fallen for things that are this obvious. Because I think everyone was saying, at least people who are not afraid of the influencers, were saying it's obvious. Stay at home, double speech, etc. Um, Tungomanya, so I'll go on speculation. 3 minutes is show my
Right, we got
speculation.
30 seconds.
You are already moving to speculation. Yeah, you're already moving to speculation. Someone is talking about decoys. Who says it's a decoy? That's the other thing that destroyed us. Understand? Could you start to speculate and you allow people to build castles and you have arguments about the castles rather than for you to have arguments about things that are practical that you can work on? Allow me to say these guys have destroyed chance equity to resist 2030 outside their structure, and it might have been intentional. So we have to go back to that project. How do we resist 2030 on our own?
Right.
Um, and
You're busy, I've given you an
Halima
extra 30
Ngondianda,
seconds.
please.
I told you to package your thing, in we want to give as many people the opportunity to speak.
Yeah,
Please.
yeah, it's difficult. Just last this one, I promise, very short. Build on alternatives. Don't be afraid to join something new. This one, Mickey Mouse Wargutao. We need to do that. We can't run away from the responsibility of being one a Mickey Mouse until we get strong enough to
Right.
resist these guys. Let's go back to that
Right.
project of
Thank you very
building.
much. Appreciate. Right. Signing, do you want to come in?
Yes, yes, thank you very much, Uncle. For me, I think I just went through what the people are saying on the timeline of Twitter, and I see that I can sense the frustration. People like Kudamsasi were saying, Tirimas stupid. Some of them are now justifying, could you see, Chamisa was probably right. Someone said action without strategy. They went on and on. But the point is that as Zimbabweans, we are very frustrated because of the move that Comrade Geza announced, uh, particularly because we do not believe that there are such positive prospects for that kind of thing. You can even see from the language here that we are now beginning to turn on each other. That someone suggested that we should play back the analysis that was made probably by Shining and ask him to say, look, when next time when you talk, we're not going to listen to you. We are turning on each other. But this is an internal fight that is going on within ZANU PF. What I've never understood is how that internal fight within ZANU PF has greater or disproportionate ramifications within the opposition when that fight is actually just within ZANU-PF. And for me, I think that we should really look at this and say the fight that is happening outside our camp should not divide us. because you know we don't survive from these kind of divisions that are created by the events that occur within ZANU-PF. Lastly, I don't want to waste the opportunity of having Hopewell here. I want to also be asking him a question so that perhaps I can pick his brain. They said that they want to start on the to initiate impeachment because ED has got vascular dementia. But the questions what I have is what are the prospects of success? Maybe you've already touched on that a bit, but perhaps how does Geza and his team ensure that ED cannot make a move against them while they complete this impeachment? What are some of the thoughts that you have? As I've said before, me, I've kept my apologies. If this turns out to be a success for all of us, I will apologize because I had said that I am not going to be part of this. That is why when you see me analyze, I analyze like an outsider because I'm just looking at a movement that's happening. But I'll be very happy to hear what Hopewell thinks about the prospect and about the things that Geza would do to ensure that ED does not move against him before he completes the impeachment, which is his trump card.
Right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Wopo, do you want to come in?
Thank you very much. I want to start by saying I agree with the brother that people should not turn on each other. We do not want a police state where people are not allowed to think and share their opinions. If they get it wrong, that's fine. It's not a problem. You shouldn't shame people from speaking out. As I said, when I wrote my piece, I was sharing my opinion, and it turned out that the piece that I wrote came to pass. It turned out to be correct, but it would be absolutely wrong and very it's like repressive behavior for me to say, so everyone that disagreed with me now that I got it wrong must be shamed. That's wrong. It's very anti-intellectual. We should never support things like that. People should be allowed to say what they want, and if they get things wrong, they learn from that. What do we gain from shaming people that they got things wrong? It's very in fact it will kill the whole idea of having Twitter spaces, because people will now be afraid to speak and say, if I get it wrong and Hopewell gets it right, he's going to come after me. I disagree with that angle, Jed, and you should not do that. It's anti-intellectual, and it's wrong. We should allow people that differ with us to share their ideas and to let them speak. If they get things wrong, they learn from that. It's it's like in school. There are kids that were smart. Imagine if the smarter kids would come out and laugh at those that had failed. It regresses the ability of those that have not done well to learn something from their mistakes. Um, my brother mentioned an issue that is very important uh, in terms of the procedures of impeachment. I said earlier that impeachment, as far as I'm concerned, it's not going to work. It's not going to work because it's a long process. It's a long process that can take months. And that's the reason why it was abandoned by Chiwenga and Mnangagwa in 2017. They then used a threat to Mugabe to say, if you don't resign, we're going to allow the mobs to come to your house and deal with you. That's what made Mugabe resign. It wasn't impeachment. Impeachment is next to impossible. That's why those that are saying it could be a decoy, they could be correct. I disagree with those that are saying you shouldn't say it could be a decoy. We can't say that, guys. Allow people to think and allow people to share their views. It could be a decoy. What if it turns out to be a decoy? It might not be a decoy, but allow people to speak. We should not have this culture of stopping people from expressing their views, whether you agree with them or not. Allow them to speak. This is the ZANU-PF culture that has gotten us where we are, where people are not allowed to express themselves. We learn, and those that you want to learn from you can only learn if they say something and they realize that they got it wrong, and then they learn from you. You can't say because of this, because of that, you can do this. Let's replay things and shame people. What do you gain from that? We are all victims of ZANU PF. Everybody is a victim of ZANU PF. Let's discuss. One day we will get it right. And we should be able to look back and say, oh, on that day I got it wrong. I was one of the people that supported the coup in 2017. And I'm not ashamed to say I got it wrong. Emerson has turned out to be one of the worst African leaders ever, post-colonial African leaders ever. But I'm not ashamed. It was something that I thought would work, but it didn't work. And all those people that marched Anglo Jed were looking for forward to a better future for their country. We cannot shame them to say because you supported the coup. I see sometimes, pictures of when people enter into arguments with people like Fazai Mahere, they post a picture of her when she was standing next to soldiers. It's retrogressive. Let us stop this business of trying to shame each other, trying to destroy those that don't agree with you, to smash them to smithereens. It's not good. Thanks, Uncle Jed.
Right. Thank you very much. For that, I do appreciate. Thank you very much. Can I ask you, Doc Lingra, to come through?
Oh, thank you, Ango Jets. What I just wanted to say was that sometimes you just need to be accountable as people. When we get things wrong, we should be able to come back and admit that we got it wrong, like what Wopol has just simply said. We've got people like on our space, we've got people that supported this, we've got people that supported Geza, and people had hope. And those people that are in jail now, some of them might even have been influenced by what people on our space were actually saying. And they are now there in jail, and nobody's going to look after them, and they don't have a leader to turn to, like this person is there. And what is very ironic as well is when Nelson Chamisa posted his tweet with a giraffe that spoke a lot. People wanted him to join, but he did not. That tweet spoke a lot. So at the end of the day, I'm just saying we've got people that say this thing is all right, this thing is all right. Yes, it's true. Speak your mind, say what you want. But when you get things wrong, you should be able to come back and say, I, Doc Lingra, was wrong. I apologize, guys. I was wrong. Because the moment we start admitting when we are wrong, then the nation will move forward. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. I do appreciate. Right. Mwendas, do you want to come in? Your 3 minutes starts from now.
Oh, thank you, Yamashita Mofo. Thank you. I would like to say Rome was not built in one day. I still stand with Geza. He's somebody who's got the balls and he was firm. He challenged Mnangagwa, and you can see the shaking of the corridors of power. Rachamisa, we salute him. He took us to elections. Sadak gave us that report, and even Opro has a GIE for a few days. We salute him. He was struggling. So you see, guys, commenting after people who are trying something, it's so bad to say they've failed. They've not failed. They've tried something. And right now, Geza, don't rule him out. He's still working on it. No matter how we can differ on the process which he's trying to do, let's give him space. And I'm telling you, if Geza bring us freedom or something different, we are all gonna benefit from that. Myself, anybody here, when you try something, I'll be on your side and support you. But as long you don't step up and do something, I'm not gonna support you now until anybody who has step up to challenge this regime. I'm gonna support him, and you will never stop me. Myself, I will stand with Geza, and I'm not ashamed to support Geza even today. I will support him because I know the pot is still being cooked. Kwata, and you guys, you are already talking about this failure. He hasn't given up. He hasn't given up. Even Wachamisa, he hasn't given up. He's still working on his way. So let's support each other, Zimbabwe, to fight this regime. I will stand with Geza any day, and I'm waiting. I'm very hopeful something is gonna come up. Love you all, my citizens. God bless.